this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from beautiful Florida. And today our question comes to us from Reverend Ed Carr. And Reverend Ed has this question. Is it possible for an inanimate object to exert control over people or places in the manner of the ring from Tolkien's famous Lord of the Rings? And my first answer to that is that in the manner of the ring from the Lord of the Rings, I would say no. I would not see that as being possible. However, if you're asking me whether an inanimate object can influence people, places, and things, I would have to say the answer is yes. And as I think about this, I'd say the most common way that we encounter this in contemporary Western magic is, for example, the power of stones. Everything that exists has its own natural energy, and that energy can influence things around it. That's why you carry certain stones to draw certain things to you. Malachite for prosperity or increase, for example, or rose quartz for emotional balance or romantic love. And many, many other stones with many, many other purposes. They work because they have that natural energy and also because you charge them for it, which increases the attraction even more. So yes, inanimate things such as a stone can affect the things around it. It's not quite the same thing as exerting control, however. And this can be at a greater level than that, because when we do magic, when we charge an item, for example, such as an amulet, we are creating something which is intended to influence the things around it. So yes, inanimate objects certainly can influence, either for good or bad, but I don't think they rise to the level of exerting control. And I don't think that they do that in any case. I believe that at that level, we ultimately have our own energy, which is stronger than anything we're going to encounter in an inanimate object. Now, having said that, there are many famous stories of things that have been charged in such a way that they affect other people, and I have a personal one I thought I would share with you. Many years ago, there was a museum in Indiana called the Lawrence Museum of Magic and Witchcraft, and it was open from 1937 to 1989. And I had the great pleasure of being there on a number of occasions and observing what was on display. And one of the things that was on display was a ring which was said to have belonged to the Voodoo Queen of Kokomo, Indiana. And the story ran that this lady had been a friend of Reginald Lawrence, a previous proprietor of the museum, and that when she died, her family had called him to come and take her magical artifacts because they were afraid of them. And he brought them back to the museum and put them on display, and one of them was this ring. And it was a very interesting ring. I remember it very specifically. It was a dark red stone, I think possibly a certain kind of glass, as opposed to a natural stone, but I'm not certain. It's been many, many years ago. And it was carved more or less to resemble the waves of the ocean. It was a very unusual and unique ring. I've never seen one quite like it in all the years since. And I would guess it to have been of early 20th century origin, possibly late 19th. Very beautiful, very interesting ring, and you could feel the energy on it very strongly. And according to Lawrence, Lawrence, the proprietor of the museum at that time, this ring had been cursed by the Voodoo Queen of Kokomo, so that no one but she could wear or use it, or even touch it for that matter. And he had stories of people who had insisted on touching this ring, and all kinds of terrible things happened to them. And I myself did not choose to tempt fate, but I admired the ring. I thought it was very beautiful. And I don't doubt that the lady may have put a protection on it so that only she could use it. And this could have been for either good or bad reasons. I have no idea what the lady's moral compass was like. I know very little about her beyond what I have said. But you could feel the energy on the ring. And if you were an energy worker, I think that you would notice it right away. So I don't necessarily doubt that some of the things that Lawrence was talking about had in fact happened. And that is an example of how an inanimate object, by virtue of having been charged with a very strong charge, can affect people and or places. So yes, I think it can be, but I don't think it ever would rise to the level of the ring in The Lord of the Rings. So those would be my thoughts on the subject. I hope you find them helpful, and until next time, may you blessed be. Reverend Don's Super Omnibus of Incantations and Invocations for All Occasions. Marianne Kay and I created this massive compendium of magic and artwork for you to use in any way that you would like. There are literally hundreds of spells and hundreds of illustrations, which can be mixed and matched and used in many different ways. Check it out now at witchghoulstore.com.